Welcome, friends! Oh, we finally got rain. The humidity is back, which means my hair has gone back about 3 or 4 decades, as far back as this amazing Echo mic. I saved a lot of junk from my childhood. Does anyone still have one of these? Yeah, this is low-tech fun right here. So it's been a crazy last few days, weeks, months, and I need some art therapy, and I think you do too. So, guess what time it is? It is time for Random Art Challenge number 7. I know, thank you for following along with me on all these challenges, and it's time to take it to the jars. Let's pick some media. Ooh. What is it? Oh, okay. Wood block. So I get to do a print. Okay, interesting. Wood block. All right. Forgot that one was in the jar. All right. Now for style. What style is this woodblock print going to be in? Oh, Gothic. Ooh. Oh yeah. Colors. As always, I'm gonna do 3 colors. It's kind of been my jam. Color number 1. Coffee. Ooh, I've been on a coffee kick lately. Coffee. It's a nice, rich color. Color number 2. Oh, lime green. Okay. Well, I mean, brown and green go together in nature, obviously. It's just not what I was expecting. Color number 3. Another brown. Camel brown. Okay. All right, and now subject matter. Oh boy. I always forget how many things I crammed in these jars. I'm gonna try and get as far down as I can. My fingers are only so long. Okay, yeah, don't look. Oh, goodness. What does this say? I have to draw another slip out of the jar an hour into working on the actual piece of art, which means I have to have my idea, get started on it, and then add another element into it. Now I'm just going to draw another prompt. Another subject matter prompt. Oh dear, one fell out of the jar, and I've picked one, so that may mean that I have to do all 3 of them. So let's see how this works. I like a challenge. I tell you, animals, oh my gosh, group of animals. And I'm gonna see what fell on the floor. A night scene. The jars have spoken. Oh dear. This is gonna be no easy task. It is time for History Corner. Today's History Corner segment is sponsored by my cousin Paul, who did not sell back his art history book to the campus store, kept it for 10 years on his coffee table, and then gifted it to me. So Riker, fan of the show, tell your dad thanks. Oh my gosh, this thing weighs like 10 pounds. There's a lot of knowledge in here. All right, so we're taking it all the way back to the age of the great cathedrals. The Gothic architectural style began in 1140 in France, right here, and sort of spread a little bit, but then hit against the Byzantine, the Roman, classical style. It was pretty regional, but elements of it, are even still used today. So the whole point of Gothic architecture, with its lofty heights and vaulted ceilings and high relief decoration, was to mimic a heavenly Jerusalem, sort of to lift you to God. There was also a lot of illiteracy among the lay people, and so the sculptures and the iconography were meant to tell the stories of the Old and New Testament and educate as well as decorate. One of my favorite developments to come out of this Gothic age were stained glass windows. Now, with the bones of the architecture being sound, the space in between allowed them to let light in, and so they got creative with it and started developing this method of piecing colored pieces of glass together to depict the lives of the saints and decorative symbols that not only, functioned to light the space, but tell stories and, give people something to meditate on. And so I think this is what I'm going to draw inspiration from for my artwork. This shape and style in particular is called a rose window. This motif you'll see across many of the great cathedrals across France and beyond. And so, so I did a little sketch. So here it is, just something simple, not too complicated. Now, one of my prompts was to draw a group of animals, and I try to always incorporate, what's going on in my life for inspiration as well. So recently, I was on my nightly walk and came across a baby snapping turtle. The thing was only about this big. He was super small. He was looking for water, so I scooped him up and took him to the nearest water source that we had. And so I thought it'd be really funny to do tiny little snapping turtles in my rose window, and as sort of a hidden pattern. So just something fun and quirky. And these are just, typical decorative elements that I've seen in architecture. And then I left these two panels blank because an hour into carving this, I have to draw another slip of paper out of the prompt jar. This episode is also sponsored by my neighbor Marty, who found me a great scrap piece of wood to use for my project. So thanks, Marty. So the way you do wood block is it's like making a stamp, essentially. So if I were just to ink up this piece of wood and press it to paper, you would get a black rectangle. But everywhere that you carve away will be light. That will not print. So whatever you leave behind will print, and whatever you carve away won't. It's a subtractive method of making art rather than additive. Rather than adding something to the surface, you are taking it away to make the picture. And so it's sort of a different way of thinking. But then once you're done with this, you've carved away all the pieces that are going to be light, you ink it up and press it to paper, and this is what you get. So this was just a fun little project I did with a printmaking club years ago. It was a fun little just little experiment. So before I transfer my sketch to the wood, I've coated it in a thin layer of ink. I just used some screen printing ink because it's what I had lying around. But this will make the wood contrasted so that when I start carving, I can see what I've carved away more easily than just leaving it all blank wood. So now I've got my design transferred to my block of wood. I just sketched it out with a colored pencil. I've got this speedball carving tool, and it came with a variety of different bits. So this one is pretty wide, covers, can take large areas out, but if you want something finer, you can trade out for this little carving tool if you want to carve lines. You've got a variety of choices here. Another handy dandy tip is just to get a feel for how this wood is going to react to the carving tool. Always start in a less important area, or an area where you're going to be carving most of it away, just to get a feel for it. Don't immediately start going into the finest little detail. make sure that the tool is going to work for the job. So I found that the wood grain is pretty wide on this piece of wood, and it makes it really hard to get fine detail. So I've switched from the carving tool to a Dremel tool, and it's working slightly better. So it's just, you know, tedious, but I get a little bit finer detail. It won't be perfect, but it's been fun. So back to work, and safety first. All right, I am an hour into carving, and it is time to draw another prompt from the jar. This is subject matter, so whatever I pull from here, I have to figure out how to incorporate into these blank side panels. So I'm gonna dig deep. Oh yeah, let's see what I get. Okay, what's it gonna be? Ooh, a fantasy setting. Oh, this is gonna be good. Okay, back to the sketchbook. Okay, so I sat down and started doodling and came up with these celestial fish swimming through outer space, which sounds pretty fantastical to me. So I think I'm gonna figure out how to put these designs into my blank panels. Now I've done it. Now I've got my work cut out for me. But I truly believe that if you can draw it, you can do it. So let's do this. Oh, my hands are gonna hurt so bad. Alright, so I think I'm mostly done carving. I found out I am not great at carving straight lines, especially when the wood grain starts to curve. I end up kind of following that curve, but oh well. It's got a very folk art feel to it. So I'm just going over the surface with just a real low grit, this is P800 grit sandpaper, and just getting off some of the wood chips that are raised up a little bit that may cause some roughness in the print. And then I'm gonna ink it up and do a test print and see if there's any areas that I need to clean up. Before I ink this up and do a test print on some scrap paper, I'm going to prep the surface for my actual print. I'm gonna use some Bristol paper. This paper takes water very well while staying flat. I want to apply color, but I don't want to get this paper too wet, so I'm going to do just a few swipes, like a dry brush technique, just to put some color down, because I know I have to incorporate lime green and camel brown and a coffee color. I want to throw in a couple other colors as well. And this is sort of a cheater method to get some color behind your print if you're just doing a one-pass print. Now, normally to do a multicolored wood block, this would be the last block that would get printed, and you would have other blocks, maybe the same cutout shapes, and say you want this one to be one color and this another, or you want this area to be one color. Those would all be separate blocks that would be printed in sequence, and then this would be the one that would be printed last and go over the design. I'm not gonna get that complicated. I'm just gonna experiment with laying down a little color first. This is a learning experience. Oh yeah, that's a pretty mess right there. Handy dandy tip alert. I don't like wasting paint, so if I found that I squeezed out more paint than I will use on a project, I like to keep a junk canvas, or you know, you can keep any kind of surface around that you can use up the excess paint on. And so I might do a little abstract painting on this to use up what I don't. Boom, abstract art. And my paint is almost all used up. So hooray, recycle, reduce, reuse. All right, time to ink it up. I am using Speedball water-soluble block printing ink. They make block printing ink in oil, but it's a little harder to clean up, so I'm sticking with the easy cleanup ink. So just got some black, keeping it simple. And ooh, I like the sound. Sticky ink. Get it nice and thin, even coverage. And ink the block. Okay, it's inked. We're gonna put our paper down and rub the back. Okay, I've got my paper down. I'm applying some pressure. I've just got a block of wood, but there's another tool you can use to make sure that the paper is making contact with all the parts of the print. All right, let's see what we got. Look at that! It worked! It worked! Okay, I'm gonna have to apply the ink a little thicker in some areas. I got a little spotty with it. It also might be that the wood is not 100% flat in some areas, but hey, look at that, not bad. All right, moment of truth. Ooh la la, look at that. Look at that, it worked. Oh yeah. Oh, nice. So the fun thing about doing printmaking is you can print multiple copies so more people can enjoy your art, and you can experiment with different color combinations. It's finally done! I'm very pleased with how this turned out. So let's see, did I fulfill the brief? Woodblock print, Gothic style, lime, camel, and coffee colors had to be incorporated. Night scene, group of animals, and fantasy setting. I think I got them all in here. Oh, and the drawing of another slip an hour in, which was the incorporation of fantasy setting, because you don't usually see koi fish swimming through outer space. Oh, wow. This one was hard, guys. When I reset the jars, woodblock printing will not be going back in as an option. As pleased as I am with how this turned out, and with how much of a learning experience this project was, it was really hard, and it was hard on my hands, and it was frustrating. So, but if you guys want to give it a try, be my guest. I highly recommend trying lino cut or carving out of stamping rubber. Much easier than carving out of wood that had a wide grain and was not always cooperative to my carving tools and Dremel tool. Thank you so much for following along, and until next time, make some art.